regular session, and a second by Ms. McGovern.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, raise your right hand. Okay, and here we go, that's everyone.
I move to approve the resolution as presented in the executive session.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
A second by Dr. Luster. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, so we're moving on to, where are we moving to? Number, where are we, 7? Okay, so we need to approve the new courses that were presented to you electronically, and Dr. Anderson?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question, please?
Mm-hmm.
You had a motion to return to session. Did you have a motion to amend the agenda?
I have not.
That needed to be done before you could vote on the resolution. We had to amend the agenda.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I move to amend the agenda, and adopt the resolution that was discussed in the.
okay, thank you, Mr. Kane. Second. And I'm not lost here, all the voices of
Dr. Luster?
Dr. Luster, thank you. And a second. All of us. So now we're, all in favor? Okay, any opposition? Okay, so now we're moving to our new courses.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. So
Okay.
we're excited to propose these new courses, mainly from the humanities department. They'll challenge, and yet expand the thought patterns of our students. So the first course is called History from the Grassroots, which is an examination of through the global lens of historical movements of grassroots organizing. It's a comparison of the strategies and tactics of grassroots movements, as well as their political, social, economic, and cultural impact. Oh, they have it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you have anybody have any questions about the courses, you see them all.
Is that the only one?
There are 3. There's, the second one is the 19th century American literature,
Okay.
and the third one is the history of religion.
Okay, are there any questions about these courses? Content? Okay, I need a motion for approval. Dr. Stevens.
Second.
Second, Dr. Williams. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank
Board.
you, thank you. And now we have agenda item number 8, student handbook changes. Angela Kuvion?
Good afternoon. In your binders, you've got 2 policy changes that we are bringing forward. Both of them relate to college transfer credit and dual enrollment. Those of you who have been on the board for a little while know that we typically bring policy changes at the June meeting. We will be bringing additional changes in June, but these we needed to go ahead and bring to you now so that our students who are pursuing college coursework this summer, that these new policies would apply to the summer coursework they may be pursuing. I've got an explanation of what those changes are, and I'll be happy to field any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay, do we have a motion to approve these changes?
I do have one question.
Okay,
About the early admission, has that become an issue that students are seeking early admission to colleges and universities?
The early admission, let me make sure I'm
It's the first
through the
one.
articulation agreements.
Yes.
It is not a problem so much in that you're talking about the limit on the 7 hours, the
Mhm.
recommended limit.
Mhm.
That part is becoming quite a concern, and I see Dr. Hondel shaking his head. When students pursue dual enrollment credit and earn college credit while they are in high school, and it becomes part of their permanent college record,
Right.
that does have implications on their federal financial aid eligibility down the road and maintaining satisfactory academic progress. So when you're talking about our senior class, and right now our senior class, we've got 36 students who are on track to earn the AGS at the end of it to be conferred in August. Of those 36 students, the average number of college credit hours they have already earned before they finish this semester is 46 hours. And so we've got students who are leaving here as sophomores, we've got a couple who are already juniors in college. And if all of those hours are not applicable to the college degree they pursue, and if the university that they're going to doesn't accept dual enrollment credit, they may not make it all the way through college before they lose their federal financial aid.
Wow.
And so these recommendations, we're not putting a limit on them, but we are recommending that they not pursue more than 7 hours a semester. Exceptions would be for those students who are pursuing the AGS who may need some additional dual enrollment credit, but NSU is so generous with us in terms of our articulation agreement that they truly only need 15 hours of dual enrollment credit because the rest of it could come through the articulation agreement we have with the university.
Okay, is that helpful?
And for clarification, that is becoming pretty common with all of our dual enrollment partners to recommend a limit of 6 hours with most schools.
And we set 7 for hours because for our students who are taking a dual enrollment lecture in the sciences, they have to take the lab as well.
So maximum of 7 hours. Okay. Are there any other questions pertaining to that? Or any other, items that are on the proposal? Okay, could we have a motion from the table? Anyone? Okay, Dot, Denise and Carmelis, and second, Regina Pierce. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And, item number 9 is approval of student activity fees for 24-25, and Dr. Horton will address this.
If you will take a look in your binder, agenda item 9, exhibit 1, this is an annual request that we, must secure approval from the board. We, like I said, revised statute, allows us to impose a room, and board, and then other fees for full-time students. With provision that the student is incapable of paying, they can be exempt from or subject to a reduction, and several of our students do take advantage of those opportunities so that they may attend a Louisiana school. The statute also allows the certain fees to be imposed and authorizes this board to approve those fees for the provisions of the Constitution. But the student activity fees are not among those fees that are considered required. They are voluntary, and mainly to cover things that the board imposed board fee do not cover. So if you look below, you'll see the student activity fees listed that we're proposing for 24-25. And it's rare that we ever ask for an increase, but most recently the increase of laundry services allowed students in the residence hall not to have to pay to use the washing machine, so we were able to get washing machines where the students could wash for free, and the $45 fee covers those laundry services. The only thing we did this year was increase student life programming by $10, $5, I'm sorry, going from $95 to $100. And we haven't asked for an increase in that area in a long time, but we're realizing that inflation and cost of living is changing so drastically that we can't keep up with the expenses that come with those fees. The foundation has been very helpful with this also when a student cannot afford to pay for the student activity fees, rather than denying a student, for example, a yearbook or a newspaper. The foundation has come forward to help students cover these expenses. This also, where you see graduation fee for seniors, that's their cap and gown, and the cost for the diploma. So we're just asking for approval for fiscal year 25 for the sophomore and junior fees to be $220 and the senior fees to be $260.
Okay, so could we have a motion for, this agenda item? Anyone? Dr. Hondo, second. Dr. Stevens, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, the motion carries. And item number 10 is approval of contract for professional legal services for the 24-25 year.
If you take a look at agenda item 10, exhibit 1, again, this is an annual request for approval that Mr. Kane is going to specifically ask for. The Attorney General's office has really overhauled the requirements for the board to approve the contract for legal services for fiscal year 25-26. So I will turn to Mr. Kane to address those, and Mr. Sills is here, of course, on behalf of Hammonds and Sills to answer any questions regarding the contract for next fiscal year.
Okay, I move that the board adopt the following resolution for legal services. Whereas the Jimmy D. Long Senior Louisiana School for Math Science and the Arts Board and staff need legal services for the board and its staff to fulfill the statutory mandate as specified by Louisiana Revised Statute 17:1961. And whereas the LSMSA Board and staff require specialized legal advice and review of policies involving LSMSA, a public secondary school in a residential setting. And whereas Kenneth F. Seals and the firm of Hammond, Sills, Atkins, Geis, Noah, and Perkins LLP have efficiently and effectively provided legal services to the board and staff of LSMSA since 2006 and are needed to maintain continuity of advice and assistance. And whereas the hourly fees for the professional services are stated in the proposed contract and amounts as allowed in the memo legal services contract dated February 22nd, 2024. From Pamela Bartbay, CPPO, Assistant Director, Professional Services, Division of Administration, and the total compensation to be paid is not to exceed $60,000. And whereas the term of contract is for 1 year beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025. And whereas the scope of this legal representation does not involve federal claims, and whereas this resolution shall take effect immediately, and therefore it be resolved that the Board of Jimmy D. Long Senior Louisiana School of Math, Science, and the Arts pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 42:262 does hereby retain and employ as special counsel Kenneth F. Seals and Hammond, Seals, Atkins, Geis, and Perkins LLP, and be it further resolved that this resolution and proposed contract described herein be submitted to the Attorney General for the state of Louisiana for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. We are required to read this verbatim, so, we have a motion. Is there a second? Dr. Williams, and all in favor of this motion? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, the motion carries.
Mr. Sills, do you have any comments that you'd like to make?
Just wanted to point out, you have the contract two before you that this resolution authorizes. And there's a little bit more description of the services in the contract. The contract form this year is different from the previous years. There's a couple new clause requirements in there. Our firm does not provide the legal services in connection with worker comp claims or tort claims against the school or the board. Those are generally handled through the Office of Risk Management. Now, it's up in that scenario, the Office of Risk Management may appoint whoever they have on their list and all that. And in that connection, our firm was designated, and we are defending the board on one discrimination claim that remains inactive at this moment, but it's still filed here in Natchitoches. The other discrimination claim is handled by a firm in Monroe that was assigned the defense of it by the Office of Risk Management. So this is for general legal services, which unfortunately sometimes gets a little bit involved. We have a lot of different issues. In our firm, Wayne Stewart has been stepping in to helping out on various issues. And at some point in my life, when I do decide to retire from practicing, Wayne will probably be stepping forward more often, or you might even get to see him later this year at one of the board meetings. I'll send him up there so that you all get to begin to get familiar with him. We are truly honored to have been of service for so many years and to continue to be of service to this board and to your executive director and your staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sills. And we're honored to have you
I'm grateful. to have
Appreciate
you.
all your work and your love. I mean, obviously you love the law and you love the Louisiana school. We thank you for that. Okay, agenda item number 11, ratification of foundation faculty staff reimbursements. Dr. Horton.
If you take a look at agenda item 11, exhibit 1, you will notice the 6 requests for reimbursement from the foundation that must be approved by policy from you. One to Jason Anderson, one to Bridget Bechtel, one to myself, one to Emily Shoemate, one to Scott Terrio. I will tell you for the retiree reception on mine, that is the board's gift to Mrs. Gahagan. So, that will happen at graduation. But with that, I ask you to consider approval of these LSMSA 1, 2, 3, I'm sorry, there are 5 requests for reimbursement approval. I'd ask you for that.
Do you have a motion?
Could you spell out what NCSSS conference is? Sure it's above board.
National.
Consortium of Secondary STEM Schools.
Got it.
Okay, we have a motion.
Moved.
Thank you, Dr. Luster. Second? Dr. Hondo, all in favor? Aye, and motion carries. Okay, then, Dr. Horton, you're up again for, item 12, agenda item 12, clarification and approval of prior board action.
I am representing Dr. Ebard on this, and who is in my stead in Baton Rouge testifying before House Appropriations. Last board meeting, actually the last 2, we had an executive committee meeting, and then we had a regular board meeting where you ratified an action to update the salary scale for the school, and that allows the school to position every faculty and staff member here at the school on a scale that allows for steps, and that has been in play for the last 20 years of the school. Well, now that is actually a state law that every school district in Louisiana posts their salary schedule for all employees of the school. We sit in an unusual situation because we are a K-12 school. We report directly to the Division of Administration, and that is not the typical. So in terms of funding, we're not funded through a parish tax base like every district in Louisiana is. We're funded through partly the MFP, but the other part is a direct appropriation from the governor. So when we are requesting funding for the step increases that are approximately 3% annually, as in every other school district in the state, we're asking the state to supplement or to fund that step increase. And this time around, when we had a change in administration, there was some question as to what a step increase was, and the wording of the board's action to the state acknowledging our salary scale, Dr. Ebar presented forward to clarify it so that there would be no questions on the state level when it comes to the annual approval of our salary scale. So I'm going to pass to Mr. Donahoe and let him provide those details and an appropriate motion as it pertains to the faculty staff salary scale.
On November 7th, 2023, the Executive Committee for the Board of Directors for Louisiana School for Math, Science, and Arts adopted the following motion. Pursuant to the provisions of Louisiana Revised Statute, Title 17, Section 1964, C5 and D1, the Board of Directors for Louisiana School for Math, Science, and Arts does hereby adopt the attached faculty salary index to be used in determining the salaries of the faculty members at LSMSA. The board further stated that this faculty salary index shall be used by LSMSA as the basis for requesting increases in salary for such faculty members, counselors, and related personnel. On December 4th, 2023, the Board of Directors formally ratified the action taken by said board's executive committee. No narrative relating to the discussions that led to those actions is contained in the minutes of either of those meetings. In reviewing those minutes and discussions, it is the determination of said board that a clarification of the board's intent in making those actions is necessary. Dr. Steve Horton, Executive Director of LSMSA, explained to the Executive Committee during its November 7th, 2023 meeting and to the board during its December 4th, 2023 meeting that the faculty salary index serves as the basis for establishing salaries and salary adjustments for all unclassified employees of the school. The salaries of such employees are directly related and tied to said index. The board, in adopting said index, did not specify in the minutes the board's intent that the salary adjustments be requested every year for all unclassified employees of LSMSA, and that such adjustments should be based upon the provisions and the mechanics of said index. Therefore, the Board of Directors for the Louisiana School for Math, Science, and Arts hereby moves to adopt the following motion. Pursuant to the authority granted by Louisiana Revised Statute Title 17, Section 1964, the Board of Directors for Louisiana School for Math, Science, and Arts hereby directs the administration of LSMSA to annually request a salary adjustment for all unclassified employees of LSMSA based upon the provisions and mechanics of the LSMSA Faculty Salary Index, and for all classified employees based upon the directives from the appropriate authority of the state of Louisiana.
We have a motion from Mr. Donahoe. Is there a second? Second from Ms. McGovern. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposition? The motion carries. Okay, item number 13 is the process for the evaluation of the executive director. So it's, and I'm going to ask Dr. Anderson to be available to answer any questions you might have. This is the same process that was adopted last year, used for the first time, very successfully, and it requires the use of a software program called Watermark, and we have dates that this evaluation will be distributed. This is a multi-tier evaluation process where every full-time faculty staff member of the Louisiana School will evaluate their supervisor, their immediate supervisor. So everyone, it's my understanding that everyone will not evaluate Dr. Horton, but every full-time person will.
And board member.
And board member. So you will be receiving this survey as well. And so what else would you like to tell?
It is completely anonymous. Last year when we switched to the Watermark CES system, we got nearly a 74% response rate, and that was huge. And the information again goes to the chair of the committee that Madam Chair will assign to review the evaluation of the executive director. So no one knows the results but the chair and the members of that committee.
Okay. So I have contacted 5 individuals of this board to serve on the evaluation committee, and Dr. Hondo has agreed to chair the work, and also Ms. Pierce, Regina Pierce, Ms. McGovern, Mr. Jed Kane, and Kyle Stevens as the faculty representative. And they've all agreed to serve, and so you'll receive, what are the dates for the administration of the survey, of the instrument?
Well, I'll talk with Dr. Hondo on this. I mean, we can start it as soon as you're ready. We already have, usually we give everyone about a month or so to complete it. So it's really, we can talk Dr. Hondo and get that started. So you will know a start and an end date to the project.
And then Dr. Hondo will reach out to the members of the committee, and you'll have a meeting date. You'll review all the evaluations, and then you'll meet probably in person, but it could be virtually conducted as well, and have discussion about that, and then move forward with your recommendation for continuation of employment. Anything else about covered everything?
You covered everything?
Yes.
It needs approval of this process.
Okay, yes, we do need approval by the board, so. it's- Okay, thank you, Ms. Pierce, second, Ms. Carmelis, and all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you, so now we're down to, the good part, report from the faculty. Stephen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try to be quick. I spent most of the weekend grading, and when I crawled into bed last night, I found the simplest book I could to read. It was a World War II naval story. I know you're shocked. And I came across a simple sentence. There was a job to do, and the job was worth doing. And sometimes it's good to remind ourselves of that we're doing good work, and it's important. I meant what I said in my written report. The energy level among the students in the classrooms and the offices is remarkably high. The 5 most important words in my report are for this time of year. It is March. I don't ever want to deceive anyone or paint too rosy a picture, but from what we're seeing in the classrooms and what we're seeing in the office hours, the kids are still engaged. I think it's been several years pre-pandemic since we've seen an optimism and maybe even an ebullience day to day. That is not to suggest that from the faculty perspective that our students are not getting a little bit weary. They're definitely counting down to graduation, sometimes hourly. They've got it to several decimal places. But I think some of our seniors, maybe most of them, they're counting down with a sense of excitement, but also a bittersweet moment. And I don't know that I've seen that for every spring I've been here. Some students just want to run out. I think these kids understand these days of youth are going to be gone and they're not coming back. And so I'm seeing a perspective among our seniors that does my heart a world of good. I mentioned in December the level of support among the faculty and the level of collegiality among the faculty. I was a bit remiss in not including all staff and all support personnel in that, because the level of cooperation that we on the faculty side see, the tough jobs that our administrators and other personnel do to help us do our jobs. I get to go tell fun stories. I mean, I do have to grade the papers after that, but I get to tell fun stories, and it's people like Ms. Cuvion who go blind looking at Excel spreadsheets, and Dr. Anderson who has to write emails to parents that let us do our job. I'll give you one quick example. Last November, it was a Friday and it was an exploration day. And it had been a long week and everyone was happy to see Friday night get here. And I was a little bit tired. I felt good, but I was feeling it. We're all looking forward to 5 o'clock. And Ms. Cuvion came into my elective on the age of FDR. And she said, "Do you have room for another student?" And I said, "Sure, it's exploration day, it's what we do." And I'm looking around for the kid that she has escorted up here, and she said, and I said, "Y'all, Miss Covion's gonna visit with us today." And all these world-weary teenagers are suddenly like, "Yeah, that's awesome." The energy level spiked in the room. And if I'm not mistaken, she took notes the entire 52 minutes that I lectured. That's probably worth their weight in gold. It was a kind, gracious gesture for her to do. I like to think my lecture would have been good regardless, but I had more fun doing it because she gave us a shot in the arm. And so when I say in my second paragraph here, morale is high among the faculty, it's because of people like that. As always, my colleagues inspire me. I want to be more like them. I'll give you just a few highlights here. By the end of this week, by Friday afternoon, Mr. Brad Berkman will be Dr. Berkman. Be sure to call him that. It'll give him a kick. He has worked years since the pandemic days, I believe. He's got to get his PhD in computer science. Mr. Kane, would you grab, Dr. Horton, would you grab Dr. Dalling's textbook? Dr. Dalling has finished a 6th edition of a quantum mechanics and mathematical physics textbook. He asked me a week ago to bring this to you and pass it around. Don't look too much unless you like seeing letters and numbers right together. I can't look inside it hardly, but it's remarkable. And why this matters is this is the golden key. If you can master the material in here, there is no mathematic or engineering job you can't tackle. Dr. Dalling, a great guy, very brilliant, very funny. Dr. Donlin, as y'all know, finished a sabbatical, and she, if you haven't seen her yet, you've got to see her. She wasn't exactly world weary before the sabbatical, but she was looking forward to having a year break. She took a class, 2 classes on how to make film, and then actually made a film. And y'all, she's skipping through the hallways. I mean, having the time to focus on your own projects matters so much, but also contributing something that involves the students. But maybe it's not quite directly involved in the classroom. She cannot thank the school enough for the opportunity to do that. It really has given her a boost as she wraps up her career in the next couple of years. So many things going on. Dr. Francis is publishing several things this year. She is now the editor of the newsletter for the International Lawrence Girls Society, the great British author from the 1940s. She asks for your prayers as she starts this challenging assignment. She has several essays coming out on Michel Foucault, and so many of my colleagues are doing wonderful things. Dr. Langford not only spent last weekend as a judge at National History Day over at the museum, but last weekend she presented at a conference in South Carolina. I included the details of that conference in the December meeting. Several other things my colleagues are doing. Dr. Tishner is continuing to build a remarkable and I think unprecedented classics program at this school. How you get 15-year-olds involved in Latin. I wish I'd had a teacher like him when I was a kid. You can read what my colleagues are doing. They're impressive and wonderful, and they too are unusually ebullient for this time of year. So.
Okay. Well, Dr. Stevens, you have more energy than anyone I've ever known.
I go to bed at 8 p.m. every night.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for that.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
And this might be directed to Steve as well. We lost a week in February due to weather, and that concerned me, frankly, because that was followed by Mardi Gras, which is then followed by spring break, and we have our extended weekends. So I worry a little bit about contact hours and class time and disruptions to the academic program. Have we worked through that satisfactorily?
I believe we have, Dr. Williams. I think the only way to balance that is to inform the kids directly. We lost a week. It's a shame. No one likes it. Maybe the kids like it. We're not happy about that. And to maintain those standards in the classroom. The loss of contact hours can make them rusty, having breaks with uncommon regularity and between short breaks. Speaking for myself in this one case, carrying the energy into the classroom is the only way to remind them that they're here to work. And I think as unfortunate as some of the extra breaks have been, and the fact that we had an early Mardi Gras, it's not ideal. I'm having 2 exams later than I would have liked. I've got an exam Wednesday, the 27th, that's exam 2, and then our final exam. I'd like to get that first exam in a little bit earlier, around the Ides of March, but it's nothing that this group of professionals can't work out. As far as the contact hours, I think in some cases all we can do is reiterate to the students, we're here, come see us. You don't have to have an academic reason to visit with us in office hours, and we can still try to build those relationships.
Well, my question for Steve, if I'm maybe permitted a follow-up, is there any way to harden the infrastructure to avoid that? It seems like to me that this should be the one place that doesn't shut down because it freezes for 2 or 3 days. Generac for the residents all, or is it a power issue or a water issue or a safety issue, or what is it?
It's all of the above.
I think it's life.
It's, here's how, when that happens, now it becomes an issue where the Sheriff's Department does meet with Northwestern, with us and Natchitoches Parish Schools. Our problem is the problem with the way the pipes, and if the city loses water, because the city will take, the infrastructure for water is the problem, it shuts us down completely. Our problem comes is if we send the kids home because we're concerned with the water pressure or a pipe burst, getting them back in the middle of the week has become near impossible, even if we allow the buses to travel. Then we had trouble even getting buses to bring them back. That was a decision we made with the full senior administration. We worked with Northwestern on that decision. Well, our problem was, again, getting them back in the middle of the week, but we did have a pipe burst in the LLC that flooded 1B. And so it took us about a day and a half to clear it out, but it's the uncertainty of what do we do if we lose water. And our water is controlled by NSU because the pipes come from NSU. NSU has trouble because the pipes are old, and it's kind of like an overflow to us. But now that we're on the front of campus and all of the water that houses the LLC comes from the Northwestern side, it puts us in a compromising situation. Or if we lose water in the high school building, it has an overflowing effect on us. But that's where we had to make the decision, and it's an unfortunate one, but we realize if we lose water, and there was a couple weeks ago that we lost water one evening, and we made it through that night, but it's literally, when you say you've lost water, every child wants to flush. And it shut everything down in the residence hall. But also remember, we're run by chillers. So if we lose water, it affects the chillers, which affects the pumps that control the heating. And it's, as the time has moved on, and we don't have we have limited generators for the LLC that keep us on auxiliary power. And the other part that's a big concern is how do we feed the kids? Because everything in the cafeteria is tied to water. So that's our big issue, is when the city loses or we go into a freeze, the city's concern is first electricity, then the second part is gonna be water. And that's where we're in an awkward, because the kids have nowhere to go if it happens. We can't get them out of here easily. And that's why we made the decision to close. Not my favorite decision to make. We fought it, but we realized that the pain of something happening would far exceed having them on campus. And then we thought we were fine because we ran the heaters in all of the buildings, and we still had a pipe on 1B break and flooded the floor. I hate that it's become life on these two campuses. Yeah. And Dr. Homme, you may be able to add to that, but it's going through the same thing we're going through.
Yeah. And
I don't really have anything to
In this residential situation, the first case of food poisoning you would get with this.
oh yeah.
Anything with food service would be a lot there.
But we went to food service. They were struggling because there's already supply chain issues, but they were concerned, how would we feed the kids if we don't have water? How would we feed the kids if we didn't have electricity? And that experience that the city went through when we lost power with the hurricanes, and then we lost power that year or two later when the lines froze, has both institutions.
It's more about the what ifs than the what happens, honestly.
In a situation like that, do you consider some modification of the spring schedule in the aftermath?
We debated the Mardi Gras holidays, and the reaction we got from the parents was much worse because they had made arrangements for their kids to go different places and travel. And we decided as administration to leave the schedule as it was and let the faculty adjust their syllabi to catch up, just like our sister universities are doing.
Does that help?
I don't like it either, Dr. Williams. It's just nothing. I mean, I'm looking at Dr. James. We've all had the university this happened there so many times that we can't avoid it.
Oh, I get it. I didn't.
Well, we tried to even go into running internet, and then we realized the kids don't have internet access in their homes, so it was even difficult to go online with them.
We are able to make up some seat time content-wise with virtual, whether it be synchronous, asynchronous, or just a simple. That doesn't replace the face-to-face, but we still get the content delivered, and ultimately that's.
So two questions. One, you mentioned old pipes are a problem, but the HSB is brand new. Is there a design flaw there that needs to be rectified, is something the contractor needs to fix, or is it just an act of God?
It was an act of, this particular one was an act of God, because it wasn't even a chiller pipe that burst, it was the, what was it, the antifreeze that runs the heating
It looks a
system.
different color.
That, it came out pink. But it was not even a pipe that burst. Our problem with the pipes bursting is that if a pipe burst on the NSU campus or in town, on this side, we lose all our water pressure.
Right, and then second question, as much as when I was a student here, I hated any weekend activities that required us to stay on campus for the class. If we're missing days and worried about making up later, has having class on a Saturday or two been thought of?
Yes, we have debated having Saturday classes, yes. It would require us to have some more required weekends, but in terms of the faculty, and looking at Dr. Anderson, the faculty was satisfied that they could catch.
They see the point.
They were gracious enough to accept it. It was hard, but they knew we've been through it before. And Dr. Art, you've been on the faculty, and it's one of those things that they knew once we start mentioning the scenarios of what if, like Dr. Hunter said, and we erred on the side of the caution of the students. They understood, like, we've been here before. We've missed because of multiple hurricanes, ice storms, COVID. We can make it up. They understood.
Definitely was not our choice, but we dealt with what was, the cards were given to us.
Okay, well, let's move on. I would like to go back to Dr. Stevens' report, faculty report, and he had an addendum attached to his report that dealt with his experience as a result of being funded, what's the Brown study. And I just encourage you, I don't, we're going to he's, I'm sure, would love to talk to us about that in the future when the book gets written, but, which will be no time, right?
I am hoping, Madam Chair.
That addendum is actually in green paper and it's behind Dr. Anderson's report.
Okay, thank you. And
Sorry,
yeah, I encourage you to go back and read that. I mean, he is such an interesting writer, and I was just there on the streets with him, you know, in his experience. So it was very delightful. So I commend you for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Again, look forward to your book ending and talking to us about it. So at this time, we would like to move on to item 15, which is the executive director's report, and I think he's going to cover some of the division reports as well, briefly.
Sure, and if you have any questions, of course, all of the directors except Dr. Ebarb is not here, but first off in your book, if you want to take a look at the most recent pitch book that we use when we approach the state legislature for our funding, the numbers are very telling, but particularly if you look on the second page and spend a little bit of time looking at the percentages of the average ACT score, which went up a little bit from the year before, so you can see that we're coming back off of the pandemic. We're following state legislation in terms of our class sizes, in terms of the ratios, but notice how many students, 36, earn an associate degree from coursework at the Louisiana school, and this is again coursework that our faculty generally are teaching. You'll notice the number of students or universities that are awarding college credit through articulation agreements for classes at Louisiana school. The one we're most proud of at this point, because it's the newest, is LSU. And then of course Northwestern is probably the most generous of all of the institutions, but since so many of our students opt to go to LSU Honors College, that articulation agreement with LSU is particularly awarding or rewarding for our students. You'll notice at the bottom, what is something that the legislature seems to really appreciate is the service that we get from the foundation, particularly in the area of assistance for students who no longer or cannot fund or families who have trouble funding the required board fee and also the activities fees. Anyway, if you'd like to take a look at that, and the other part on the back side, the number of students that we have coming from Louisiana, particularly now, we're running 81% of the parishes represented this year in terms of attendance. And you can see the bigger dots are from the larger areas of students, and one of those big dots is Natchitoches Parish, and you notice one of the other ones is East Baton Rouge. So Our numbers are coming from all over the state, and you'll notice at the bottom of that page, some of the unique upper level courses that we're offering students here that are very, telling as to the reason that someone would consider a Louisiana school experience outside of going to a school in the state that would be charter or anything close to it. If you look in terms of the reports that are coming from the directors, I'm gonna start just giving you a few hot points of what's going on around the campus. From the financial standpoint, we are wrapping up the use of ESSER 1, 2, and 3, which we applied for funding and received approximately $4.2 million in funds. And again, from Denise Caramelis, thank you for everything you did for all of us when we called numerous times with numerous questions regarding the expenditure of those funds. But what was the more proud moment of the school is that we are completely overhauled in terms of technology. Every classroom has updated technology like you would see right here. Every student is now equipped with a brand new laptop. The Wi-Fi system is campus-wide, including the outdoor sections. So that was a big chunk of what we used our ESSER funding for. But we have 2 remaining projects in play. One is that we're finally able to replace the old dressing rooms behind the gymnasium that served Natchitoches High School for 70 years, 60 years. It served as our kitchen before we actually had a real cafeteria. It is now termite ridden. The theater group and the dance group are using it to build sets, and right now it's a lot of storage space, but it will be coming down in the next 6 weeks, and a really attractive metal building that's enhanced with brick around it will go in its place and provide an updated space for our theater and dance students to build sets, a more updated space for Henry's group to keep their equipment safe. It's gonna eliminate all of those outside coverings that we've got back there to hide the lawnmowers and all. So that is coming in play, and hopefully it'll be in use by the time the students return in August. Also, in terms of one of our big projects is in the courtyard on this side. We learned in COVID how much our students enjoyed being outside and our teachers use the outside space to teach. But the courtyard is very sunny, very hot. And those areas that we try to use for the students were not very conducive. But now what we're proposing, or we're actually in the approval space and actually gonna begin construction in the next 2 weeks, is a pavilion that will cover that concrete area and will be used as an outdoor classroom, a place where we can have events, but it's coming from $1.5 million of our ESSER money between the two. But hopefully we will be able to get that all in play when the students return in the fall. So we'll have an outdoor classroom that has seating, it has fans, and it's got Wi-Fi as well. We submitted 5 capital outlay projects to the state for funding this year. Obviously one is the Innovation Center that we're partnering with Northwestern on, and that's gonna be over in the old 9th grade center in the Magnet School. That's gonna be paired with NSU's Business Incubator. Proudly, we testified last week or visited with the new facility and planning office staff, and we were notified at the end of the week that we did make House Bill 2. So we actually, because of the foundation and the capital campaign, being able to fund a good bit of it, and the Northwestern through their Small Business Administration grant, of the $15 million in that capital outlay project, we were able to each put up 2.5, and it is now in House Bill 2. So we're crossing our fingers that it stays in House Bill 2, but we have that one moving forward hopefully pretty quickly. We submitted also capital outlay requests for a complete renovation of the high school building, which is obviously needed. That price came in at a little over $25.6 million. That is not a structural renovation, that is mainly facade, rooms. It's the structure of the building we found through the engineer's summary is in great shape, but that is one of the top priorities, is just taking the building from 1982 and bringing it to 2025. We also submitted a capital outlay request for a complete replacement of the HVAC system across the campus at $2.5 million, a replacement of the roofs on the MAB and the CPT at $850,000, and a complete real replacement of the the dressing area behind the gymnasium, and that's at a $3.2 million. And we were asked to prioritize these, and basically in the order that I've presented to you, that's our priority. So those 4 were submitted as capital outlay projects independent of each other, but as of right now, none of them have made House Bill 2. So we're gonna continue that process of putting them forward every year and hopefully get some movement over that in the next couple of years. Academic affairs, the search committee for the director of academic affairs recently completed their search and has presented to me a recommendation that I need to do some considering with, and I will be able hopefully to make that recommendation or make that decision and notify the faculty in the next week in terms of where we're gonna move with that. Dr. Anderson did move forward as a finalist, or actually the recommendation of the committee, he moved forward as the finalist.
Yeah.
So I'm going to review what they've submitted to me, and then I will make a decision and I will notify the faculty. But I'm really proud of Dr. Anderson and the work that he did for the school in the last years. We've navigated again through abnormal times that we can actually proudly say that we're back to normal this year more so than anything. But we do have 3 searches going on for faculty positions in chemistry, biology, and music, specifically percussion. Dr. Benner is retiring at the end of this year. Retention holding steadily at about 92%. Withdrawals from students are typical. They are relating to grades, medical issues, some family circumstances, and the majority are typically sophomores, and this year we're seeing the same. Doing a lot of competition on state and national level. We just finished literary rally. Beta's at competition and has done really well. FBLA is at state conference, I believe right now. The language festival at JCL, thespian, dance just returned from a competition. Very wonderful accolades in the areas of voice and instrumental. We talked about Dr. Stevens Brown Fund research that he did recently, and he has something in your board report that you may want to read. We have extensive research going on from the faculty and staff in terms of their own interest. Enrollment, we are ending our recruiting season. We have returned to big exploration days rather than many small ones. We have had 140 applicants submitted for the 24-25 year. 42 of those have already accepted for the next school year. All of the statistics in terms of the quality of students have increased significantly over the last 2 years, and I give credit to Ms. Shoemaker staff for recruiting, but also identifying students who have those strong reasons to come to Louisiana School. And a good bit of that feed is coming from our external reach programs, one being Summer At. So exploration days have been very good. We're doing a lot of Saturday recruiting events to give families who cannot get here during the week. And those are working out really well as well. We began a program last year with superintendent nominations and asking every superintendent in every district to nominate students from their area that they feel would be worthy of a Louisiana school experience. Obviously, that is not going to be the easiest thing, but we have received this year, it looks like 4. So we had 2 superintendents actually take us up on nominations, and we celebrated those and have reached out to those students because they would get priority consideration just based on the recommendation of the superintendent. But we have really pushed on that, and that has been a success. We have pushed most of our outreach programming to the middle school because we're realizing grades 6, 7, and 8 are the areas where our students become most interested, and that's actually even dropping down into the 5th grade. By the time they hit the 9th grade, we're realizing decisions have been made because a lot of credit is coming in the 8th grade as opposed to 9th grade. So by the time they get to the 9th grade, most of the time they've decided where they want to be for the rest of those years. Summer At, we opened up Summer At enrollment, and within 4 hours we had 75 students apply to participate in Summer At. So Summer At is moving really, really well, really, really fast, and more faculty members are signing up to participate in summer rat as instructors than they have in years past. In student support, basically our students are performing at, if not above, typical numbers. 91% having passing averages at the end of this fall semester and just a little bit below that at midterm, which is really telling that our students are actually, again, meeting the rigorous standards of the school. National Decision Day is coming up on May 1st. What's happening now, more so than ever, students are making decisions a lot earlier than they did before, and scholarship awards are coming in faster, and they're a little bit more significant. But we have students running around trying to get 2-lane nominations. It's really exciting to see the number of students, that are staying in state, the number of students who are getting significant awards from programs even out of state, but the fact that they're having options and choices, and they're actually taking advantage of the work of the College Counseling Center. In terms of LEAP, remember we are required to give the LEAP exam, and all of our students are meeting or exceeding marked levels, but particularly most recent, the English part, particularly English 2. We last week tested all of our juniors for ACT, one of the first times that we had to do it electronically rather than on paper. And we were able to, because of the technology in the school, meet that change and have no problems with that transition. In student conduct, average number of infractions, and Dean Price has really taken that handbook and applied it. We will be bringing to you more of handbook amendments, particularly in June. Anything major, but we're realizing kids are changing, and with change comes some things that need to be amended in the handbook. Right now, and this is again telling, a little over 10% of our student body is utilizing 504 accommodations, which now by federal law we're mandated to follow. And the faculty are doing a fantastic job meeting those needs and doing the things that they need to do to provide those accommodations to the students. Residential life, significant programming going on in residential life. Weekends, students are staying more. The weekday activities are back in action. We're running lots of buses and vans to different venues in town and out of town. The student orientation program in the fall had significant accolades. The students have adjusted a whole lot easier to the Louisiana school experience as a result of the orientation program that we offered, enough that we're going to implement it again in the fall.
What has changed in that respect, Steve?
In terms of student orientation? It's like an orientation to the Louisiana school, and it's different than what we call new student orientation. It's basically how to deal with the stress of the school, how to deal with office hours, how to deal with guided study. It's more of a how to be at the Louisiana school on a daily basis, rather than assuming that the students just understand it. Yeah. So we've all, I spent time talking to them about the history of the school and the traditions of the school. Dr. Anderson would talk to them specifically about guided study and how guided study works and why it's an important part. A lot of we found was they didn't know who to go to when they had a particular issue. So we spent a lot of time introducing those people to them, letting them explain the jobs that they have and how to find them and what they can do to help you out. But that's a fall course. Actually, it's for the first 3 quarters of the fall semester, and it's been really functional, and it's gonna complement new student orientation, which we're returning back to the old new student orientation where we actually have them on campus. We're implementing that again in the fall. So we realized that orientation, like on the college level, really was effective, and new student orientation, putting that in play as well, we think is gonna give us a boost in terms of student success that all comes under Ms. Rowe's area. And our counselors are doing a fantastic job. Their schedules are full, and we have 2 full-time LPCs, and we have a half-time social worker who deals specifically with the family types of situations that come with living in today's world. But their plates are full, and they're doing a lot of intervention programs for the kids to keep the kids healthy and well, as opposed to dealing with them in a reactive way like we've done in the past. One of the programs that we just joined in terms of student health is an adolescent pre-diabetes prevention program, which actually has some grant money that comes to the school for participation. We have 4 students who are participating in it now, and the faculty and staff were given an opportunity to participate, and we had 39 take advantage of it. So there was a little bit of grant money that came from that. I hate to say that Nurse Mary is retiring at the end of the year, but she is. So we'll be doing a search for a registered nurse, and fortunately we have the relationship with Natchez Regional Medical Center in play, and you'll notice in your report that we have really a good rapport in terms of the telehealth visits. It saved us a lot of emergency room visits through the telehealth program, and whoever is to take Nurse Mary's place is gonna have an easy transition because of what Nurse Mary has left behind. And all of you who have had Louisiana school experience, gonna end it, we did slant. We slant on the 4th. Actually, we ended up in a tie, and it took 3 competitions to get down to being the co-champions of Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana school. So that was a really big deal for the kids because it's been a while since we've been the champion. Coach Dale will be taking a sabbatical this fall. I'm proud of his plan. He is headed out to our sister institutions to learn how to better bring students into athletics programs who have unique exceptionalities. So that's his focus, is to develop that side of the athletic experience. I plan on issuing letters of intent in the next 10 days, and with that, we'll be we'll be moving into the last month of school. In terms of we call it the month of the senior. We have a high number of distinction presentations that are coming into play, lots of recitals. Those are the fun things that we do in the last month of school. We have 2 more weeks. We hit a spring break, and then we come back for 4, and we wrap up another school year.
Wow.
So there's lots of stuff going on, but the directors are all here, all their reports are included. If you have any questions of any of the directors, they're here to answer them for you, but we've had a great, I want to say very normal school year, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
Take a deep breath. After all that. Ooh.
There's just a lot. Like I said, Dr. Ebar's in Baton Rouge right now. He just testified at 1 o'clock for House Appropriations, and again, we have great experiences down there because they know us. They have experiences with the school and are nothing but complimentary of the faculty and staff and what we do here for the students.
And so far, board meeting, was it House of Representatives or?
Today's House of Representatives, so we're at House Appropriations. Last week, it was the Senate Finance. I mean, we were like bim, bam, boom. That they were down. One day was pie day, so I had to be here to take the pie. And today we had board meetings, and Dr. Ebar has been put on base both times, and he was actually able to take his full staff down there so they could have that experience and witness.
Well, I would expect he has 2 board members backing him up down here.
Correct, and we have, yes, correct, he is, Representative Amadi and Representative Owen actually sit on House Appropriation, so this is the first time we actually have both of our board members from House sitting on appropriation.
Very
So
good.
that was a good thing too.
Okay.
Thank you.
We are on to item number 16, which is other business, and so these are just some dates that you want to put on your calendar. Remember that we are all, as members of the board, we are expected to participate in the ethics, what exactly we call that?
It's ethics committee training. It's
Yeah.
required of anyone who is a member of the state board and commission, and it's due by May 15th.
Yeah. Which is,
So you wanna make sure that you do get that taken care of. It requires some reporting, some financial reporting and some disclosures, but
Right.
that deadline hits May 15th.
It requires
If
you
you
to
have-
say you filed your taxes, so you can't do it. So
Yeah.
And it's weird because from the standpoint of the state, everyone wants to call the school and ask us what to do with. We've been told by the ethics commission to stay out of it. If you have any questions, you could call the ethics office. It's kind of crazy how they do it, but I think they're trying to avoid any liability of the agencies telling people what to do or how to do it, but that
but if you
deadline is
need
the
help,
15th.
like downloading the financial statement, Ms. Lucas can help you with that,
It's
right?
Form 417.
Yeah, there's several, and you start looking at it and you think, was
You
that me?
just,
And you've gotta sign the cover sheet. And glad to sign the cover sheet, or they'll be after you.
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah.
Horton, I think there were some questions too regarding training and the financial reporting, so if you can maybe clarify that for the members.
There are no trainings required. There are some optional ones I shared with you all about a week ago. There was a meeting that was offered, but there are no required trainings of any board member.
But you sent something to us.
We have to
It had the
video
link.
thing.
Yes.
And watch it, yeah,
It's,
watch that.
yes, it is completely optional, but they did ask us to share it with our agency, so I forwarded it to y'all, but I answered.
But the financial
The
disclosure
financial
That
is
is
not,
required.
that is not optional.
That
So
disclosure, and
you
it's
should
through the ethics committee, that's why I said the ethics committee, that you do have to get that done by May
do
15th.
that. May 15th, so,
Work 17.
And also something else, if you were on the board of the school January 1, I believe you are obligated to do it, so as of this moment, you all still sit on this board, nothing has
Right.
changed.
might change next year, but.
Or next week, but nothing, right now, nothing has changed. We have had nothing, no notification of anything.
Cause the reporting is actually for prior year, so anyone who resigned or left December 31 is still required to report May 15th because it's prior year.
Okay. All right, and some other dates here, Blue and Gold Week, April 15th through the 20th, ring ceremony, April 20th, senior recognition ceremony, May 17th, and those are all, you're invited to participate in those if you like. But the commencement exercise, May the 18th, you want to mark that because that's going to be a special event, we won't talk about it anymore. Our next board meeting is going to be June the 10th at 1 o'clock in this room. Or will the pavilion be completed?
Hopefully it'll be close. Literally, we've hired the architect, Randall Smoke has come in, he's already done the design. It's just
Has
a matter of.
fans, right?
Yes.
So we can-
And when will our outdoor art be?
Actually, spring break, in 2 weeks, they're actually pouring, they came out and started doing some digging work and some concrete work already. The, Percent for the Arts, that's our outdoor classroom devoted to Caroline Dorman, that I'm gonna ask Dr. Williams to do something for the students on presenting on Caroline Dorman, but they would have liked to have put that off, but I wouldn't let them. And they were claiming because they wanted to come and do an advanced presentation to the kids, but that meant it was gonna be next year, and I said, no, we can't wait. But it has been on, off, but it was, I found out later from, there was an illness in the artist family that I can understand what was going on. But spring break, supposedly it's going to be installed.
Very good. Are there any other items for discussion? Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Wiggins, second, Dr. Stevens, and you are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.